Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Anarchy Analysis Series. We are live once again for the LEC Week 2 predictions. 15 games, as you know, is on the docket, of which we're going to be going over every single one of them, as well as the results from last weekend, of which we'll get into right now. Starting with day 1, 2 out of 5, day 2, 2 out of 5, and day 3, 1 out of 5. Yeah, we're off to a rough start, aren't we? Only picking up 5 games out of 15. That's a third of the results in our favour, which is a bad fraction if you don't know. But with that out of the way, let's get into our first game of the day, which will be on day number 2, because we're going to be rapid firing through day number 1. Starting with SKBDS, I've gone with BDS. Game 2, Excel Heretics, I've gone with Heretics. Koi versus Fnatic, I have gone with Fnatic. Vitality G2, I've gone with G2. And Astralis Mad rounds out the day, I've gone with the Mad Lions. Our opening matchup that we're actually going to be discussing 2 teams in is BDS and Excel, and this is going to be interesting for me to discuss because as a whole, I'd say these 2 teams have kind of sucked. BDS haven't looked that impressive to me. They beat Koi narrowly, and that felt like Koi threw it. And then it was also on Excel's side, they've just not impressed at all. They lost to Koi day 1. They lost to Fnatic day 2. And lost to SK day 3. I think the issue is with Excel. They just... I mean, they've got talented players, don't get me wrong. But I think there's no synergy. You've had to chop and change parts quite a lot during the off-season. You've brought in a new mid laner and a new jungler. So that's a new partnership. And I'm going to be honest, Peach didn't impress me in the 3 games we saw this weekend. He didn't really set up his lanes at all. He kind of played for himself with a, I'm going to take farm style and just take objective and then farm. But in the Koi series, I should say, Excel got advantages early and then Koi came back in and just demolished them because their lanes, and specifically Shigenda and Larson, got very powerful because Maorang invested into them early while Peach was making plays for Scuttles. It felt like how Excel read the meta or how they wanted to play the split isn't good enough. I'm going to be brutally honest, I don't think Excel will do better than 10th this year, yet again. And going up against BDS, who struggled week 1, they're still a solid squad. I think BDS will have this sort of reinvigorating win against the British organisation. Astralis versus Vitality gets us into our second game. And week 1, Vitality, they had an alright week, I would say. I predicted them to win 2 games, they only won 1. And it wasn't the one that I predicted. So there you go. You expect a lot of different things coming into a split. And you expect certain teams to overperform, some teams to under. I mean, I'm looking at the LCS right now, and you look at the leaderboard, TSM are in 4th. And they beat a very strong Immortal squad that I thought were, like, from what was touted on Twitter, Treats was overperforming, Tactical was overperforming so far this split. And then that magic's gone against TSM, who aren't even using their correct mid laner. Insanity subbing in, I don't think Ruby's going to get to play. And he left Heretics, whom we haven't even discussed yet. That's the next game. I just don't know why I'm talking about TSM in this video. I mean, I used to do it a lot, now not so much, but it's Astralis Vitality. Week 1, Astralis, they looked rocky day number 1. They really struggled against Fnatic. I expected them to win that quite easily. They did not. They got demolished. Day 2, I mean, gonna be honest, I predicted Heretics win, and we actually reviewed that series. Or game, it's not a series. We reviewed it on my channel live on Tuesday, because we couldn't exactly do it on Monday as the LEC was going on. And, you know, gonna be honest, we'll probably get another Tuesday stream for the matchup of the week this week. So, stick around for that. Astralis Vitality, I've predicted an Astralis win. I think they were the more impressive team out of week 1 between these two organizations. I think Vitality, they did okay against SK. We'll get to discussing soon enough, but I think Vitality probably will show up. In my mind, this is one of them predictions after week 1, using the results, is a open freelo matchup for either team. They could probably either stomp it or just get absolutely decimated. It could go either way. It's my trademark phrase, isn't it? It could go either way. And that's how I feel about predicting a week 2 matchup. So I've gone with Astralis. And finally, we get to discuss overperformers and underperformers once again. Heretics, phenomenal week number 1. Absolutely destroying SK in a very dominant game, except they couldn't hit Nexus for some odd reason. I would interject that clip into here, but no. Day 2, we broke down the matchup. It was against Astralis. Clean. I found it very, very well played. It looked very structured. I was well on form. You should check out the VOD. I'm very thoughtful about that matchup. And day number 3, them versus Vitality. They absolutely wiped the floor with the bees. Here against Koi, who we'll discuss right now, had an okay win against XL, through against BDS, and lost to Mad in a very close matchup until it wasn't. Sod's law, innit? I wasn't impressed by Koi too much in the opening weekend. I think they got unlucky in one game, but again, the game's not over until it's over. That's a very common phrase here. And you would be thinking, based on the form from week 1, I'd predict a Heretics win. But then you forget I'm Koi as of 33, aren't I? I predict Koi nearly every week. And I'm laughing because you know the punchline's coming. I'm gonna say I've predicted Koi here. And I have. It's my brain saying Koi will do good here. But I think Jankos will do work. Once again, I think there's a big jungle gap here. Jankos' experience in the league is that huge. And the way he's played the opening weekend was phenomenal. I think he'll try to continue that form throughout the split and possibly put his name in for MVP once again. As for Malrang, he invests early, and then he plays the game. I haven't been impressed by his pool of champions this split. It's not the deepest pool in the league, and you could honestly ban out all of his most played junglers if you are on blue side, and he'd struggle, because his prior picks are already that far down the tier path. I think he probably would do very well if you just ban him out. But regardless, I picked Koi to win this one, and you're probably wondering, why? So, top lane, is where we're heading. As well as mid. Mid's going to be an interesting one. Larssen, I think, had a very good weekend overall. And so did Vito. I think he also performed very well. We go over to the top lane. Heavy overperformed, but Shigenda performed very well as well. So we've got two lanes that are very overperforming for their teams. Bot lane, there's not much I can talk about Koi's bot lane. It felt struggle bus, and I mean, they did okay. That's how I think they went. Whereas Flakkid and Mercer overperformed in most people's eyes. No one really expected Flakkid to come back with such fire and decimate opponents like he was. And so, the reason I've gone with Koi, I've just talked about each lane, not given a reason why I picked Koi. I think top lane, Evi's going to be probably forced onto a tank. Shigenda's going to play carry. And I think with how Koi have played, I just expect Malrang to go top early, get Shigenda into an advantageous spot, then dominate. He does that, he's good at it, and I think that's how Koi will probably play it. And then you think, well, how's that going to be counteracted by Heretics? And that's where my mindset gets a bit, we haven't seen Heretics play from behind that much yet. And I think they're probably going to struggle quite heavily. I think that their playstyle revolves heavily around aggression and then getting Jankos benefiting, getting Vito freed up to make plays. It just seems to me like Heretics probably will get outpaced by Koi. And Koi probably have the slowest game times in the league, in my opinion. I still think that Koi will ramp up the pressure and do well here against Heretics. It's matchup of the week time. It's G2, it's SK, heading onto the Rift for the first time for us this weekend, where we can discuss them as two teams. After week 1, G2 had a bit of a rough start, shall we say, throwing their second game against the Mad Lions with a Neeko pick. That's all you need to know about that game. And then day 3, getting absolutely blasted by Fnatic. G2 are kind of on this sort of struggle. I mean, it was kind of obvious or expected when you've just come off of MSI. You tend to struggle in the opening few games. And that's something that I think the LEC split this year kind of doesn't allow you to have, is that recoup time. Bear in mind, MSI was 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, and G2 haven't had as long to kind of grow accustomed to this patch. So a struggling week 1 is expected. A week 2 is also kind of expected to be a struggle split, but you don't get that sort of comfort anymore, as it's no longer a 10-week split. It's literally a 3-week split, and then it's playoffs, and then, well, groups, and then it's playoffs. But G2 are lucky that they won in winter, because they can afford the struggle. Simple as that. Now, going up against SK, who also, I would say, had a torrid week 1, losing out to Heretics, then losing to Vitality, and then beating XL, which is everyone seems to be doing, because XL just suck. I mean, we've already discussed them, but I'm just going to say it, they suck. Now, SK, I came to the split with high hopes. I figured that they'd do well, but it's the bot lane, once again, that is struggling. I expected Marcoon to affect the map a lot more, and while he did play well, I still felt it was lacking because his bot lane just struggled every single matchup. And going up here for them against G2, who are also kind of struggling, this could be a good sort of point to see how well all these two teams will do here in summer. So, what have I gone with for predictions? I've gone... Nice. I enjoy knocking things over. But I have gone with G2 winning this one. And the important thing to note here is G2 could quite easily lose this and have the torridest split ever in their history, losing almost every game. But the issue for me is SK struggled bot, and G2's bot lane has looked quite promising so far this split, even though Hans Sama has kind of been this sacrifice carry. Teams have punished him, killed him a lot, and then Mickey's been kind of overperforming, I would say. But that balance isn't there for G2's bot lane, whereas it's a very quiet bot side for SK, and I'm going to be probably focusing quite heavily on the bot side once again in this matchup. So, we'll see how that one will go. Lastly, to round out day number 2, we've got Mad, we've got Fnatic. Oh boy. Two teams, I think, are doing surprisingly good. Fnatic, I was not expecting this form from you, beauties, and you introduced the league to the most hated pairing of item and champion I've seen in a long time. Static Shiv LeBlanc. And that's something I'm surprised about. Fnatic being innovators of a meta isn't something you'd expect to be seeing, especially after what could be argued some very bad years under the Fnatic organization for a while. And here, they're doing good. Noah has been phenomenal. I think he's a step above Reckless for this split. He's looking not washed up like Reckless is. It's harsh to say that, but it certainly feels like he is a good player and doing well. He's come accustomed to the league, clearly, and Fnatic just seem to be finding strengths. Now, here against Mad, who, I mean, I am a fan of Mad, don't get me wrong. I always feel I never predict them to win because I just see other teams as better. Like, literally every single game last weekend, I did not predict a Mad win, and they won every single one. So, here against Fnatic, we could quite literally see Mad having a perfect regular split. And a perfect regular split, I'll have only predicted them twice. I predicted Fnatic winning. Oh boy. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and days and dames, and everyone included. I don't know why I never predicted Mad to win. And here against Fnatic, I predicted Fnatic. I think that bot lane matchup is going to be spicy. Hilly versus, what's his name? I forgot his name. It's, yes, it's, who is it? Who is it? It has slipped my brain. The support for Fnatic. But Noah, yeah. Trimby! I'm a Koi fan! Of course I don't know Trimby. I blasted it from my memory. Also, being a Koi fan is a joke before anyone says anything. Oh, if you know, you know. I think the bot lane for Fnatic has looked better than what it did in summer, in spring, and winter. I think the synergy that's been found by these two players is rather a quickly done thing, and they're doing well around it. Going up against Kazi and Hilly, who are, they're looking very good as well. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how that matchup turns out, especially considering I predicted Fnatic and not Mad. Let's round out our weekend with day number 3. BDS Heretics kicks it off. This one looks interesting to me because Heretics, we've discussed, overperformed quite a lot in day one, and I would say BDS kind of underperformed. And you know, here, ooh, it could get a bit of a juicy matchup that I predicted Heretics winning. Let's be honest, I think teams have sussed out BDS. You ban out Sheo, he's not able to play, and that means that you can make dumb plays and win. That's the style you do to BDS to break him. Ban out Sheo. It's kind of what Heretics did to 113. You ban out him, and he's got nothing. That's it. I think Heretics have, with Peter Dunn as their coach, understood how the opposition have played a lot better than everyone else in the league this year. And I think that they've adapted and have done very, very well. And what I'm surprised we haven't seen yet, which is a week 3 matchup. I would really want to watch Heretics Mad, because it's Mac versus Peter Dunn. They both coached Mad together, and that was when Mad first came into the league and won everything. That's the point I'm going with here. I want to see how Heretics adapt to the Mad style. That's just my mindset. It probably won't be match of the week, because we've already covered Heretics. Maybe we'll cover Mad that weekend. But yeah, my prediction for this one is a Heretics win. If you can't tell, I've predicted Heretics to win wherever, because their form looks insane right now, and so I kind of have to predict them. Except for Koi. Mad XL Game 2. I want to keep this one short and sweet. Mad 3-0, XL 0-3. Mad very dominant. XL, not so much. So I've gone with Mad winning. See, as though I took a very quick game there, we've got plenty of time to discuss G2 Astralis. I think we need to discuss mid. Crazy mid laners picking crazy stuff. Nico probably not going to be let near either of these two, because Leader's very innovative, Caps is very innovative, and while we saw Caps' innovations, we also saw Leaders on the Nico. It was very all over the place, and it did win Astralis matchup against BDS. And so here, against G2, everything is going to be thrown out the kitchens, including the kitchen sink. I was about to say, out of the kitchen sink. My brain, if you can't tell, is very sleepy. So, here, we've just got to say G2 will win. I think G2... I've said it at the start of the video, G2 probably going to have MSI sleepiness still on them. And yeah, probably will do. However, I still think that they're probably better than Astralis. I think their style certainly suits the league a bit more. But again, Astralis are good at picking up upset wins. And they probably could do it against G2. They did do it last split, I believe, if I check my records for that. It's Astralis and G2. I covered them. Yeah, they did. I'm glad my memory isn't leaving me as often as it does. God, I hate my short-term memory. But hey, I predicted G2 winning here. Although, again, Astralis could quite easily win it. Koi SK, I was tempted to make this match of the week before we did G2 SK. But then I realized I never actually covered G2 in a regular split last spring. So it's only fair we cover them. And Koi, I don't know. I want to discuss Koi next week. Or in playoffs. However, Koi making playoffs is a very slim chance at the moment because their form has been a bit sloppy. And, you know, I did this thing, them against Heretics. I hyped up Heretics to the moon. I'm not even going to hype up SK, I'm just saying Koi wins. I think Koi, they need wins. And, you know, I think after week 1, they're going to review it quite heavily. Seen their mistakes. Koi textbook team, as everyone knows, they review quite heavily. And here against SK, I think of the 3 games that they've got this weekend, Fnatic and also Heretics, this is the one they're most likely to win. And yet I still predict them winning the others, or one of the others. Here, SK have a very good chance of winning. I think, though, with how these bot lanes have played, I think this will be like a trigger game for both of them. They both underperformed in spring, and they both look quite poor here in summer. I genuinely think we'll see something just come ablaze in that bot lane this game. So that's kind of why I expect... I've got a higher ceiling, basically, for Comp and Advian than I do for Execute and DOS. Don't know why, just do. A lot of you probably think that my predictions are of a I don't know why, and I just think they will. That's how I take my mentality to every single game. It kind of is, but I also do think about players and styles and all that jazz. And here, Fnatic versus Vitality, we've got a very sort of similar clashing of styles, as you've got a jungler in Razork versus Bo. 2 very creative junglers who love to keep track of their opponent. We've got a top lane matchup where Photon, who's struggled so far this split, takes on a thriving Oscarin. He's fit in very well to this Fnatic squad. And then mid lane, Perkz versus Humanoid. Humanoid has been performing well. Perkz, I mean, it's Perkz. You expect him to be good regardless, but I'd say he's underperforming at the moment. And then bot side, you've got Upset. You've got Kaiser. I'm forgetting names, can you tell? Versus Peach and not Peach, it's Noah and Trimby. I told you I'm forgetting names. Fnatic's bot lane is on fire right now. Vitality's kind of lukewarm. They're not very hot at all. So, you can kind of tell where I'm going with the prediction. I'm going with a Fnatic win. I think this might be a rookie scolding of Noah by Upset, but I certainly think that he's going to be in a very close game, because Upset is very good. I kind of wish I covered this match was the best match of the week after week 2. Week 1. Jeez, my brain today is all over the place, but there's a reason I went G2 SK, and there's a reason why we're saving Fnatic for next week. So, with this all said and done, thank you very much for joining me. If you've enjoyed it, or if you've enjoyed just sleepy me being dumbass at all, whatever, I'm not gonna swear. I was about to though. Leave a like down below. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys for the stream, probably Tuesday. See you guys then.